some
So
things
true.
so it doesn't sound wait a second. So it
Mm.
doesn't sound repetitive or generic because again like
But
I'm
we
not
should,
used to talking
yeah, yeah. It's
because
okay.
I'm
Like
also not used
it's okay. It's like
I'm
bulk
also not
talk only. You need not be something specific
still
or something.
still there
Not
need
like
there needs to be something we
mm.
can refine it a little bit we can
We can put a
I mean
title basically what we are talking about. We can talk about the
I
relationships,
think we should
anything.
see. I think we should do. Nee, that is something else. I'm saying we should first try talking about two or three things. We
Mm.
should meet two or three times.
Mm.
Then we'll get to know. Like, okay, if I say this, then you talk about things like this. So even
Mm.
I'll have an idea like what kind of responses I'll get from you if I say something like this.
Mm.
So that way. Um, See, I think you asked me like what is something to summarize. Um, One issue I think is see when I was growing up uh, I think most of the kids of my, at least of our generation, my generation, we aspired. Like whether you were rich or poor, you still used to look up to people who were intellectuals, who were, who had something to offer, right?
Yeah, something to
Because
emulate
I
at
think,
least.
yeah, and
Something
it
to
was
mimic.
something like
Uh,
something to mimic, and also it was something on the right path. Like all of the kids, like whether you were good at studies or not, they still looked up to things
like for
like
example, Sachin in cricket. No one used to blame Sachin. Sachin
uh,
is a great guy. At least
Sachin
in our school.
different that. Nee, but again, like you said, now for example, for cricket also, nobody like rarely there would be kids who would think highly of themselves.
Mm.
They were more into cricket, like the specifics of cricket. Whether they were right or wrong, that is something else. But more and more kids were into it.
They're passionate into that.
Despite, they were passionate. They were like they would learn things about cricket, even if honestly, very little factual things about cricket were known.
Mm. Not to
I
us,
think
like
that is the case. Like there's only few guys who knew who like okay. I played for my school. I had no idea that the fast bowler, every fast bowler can swing.
uh,
I used to think their go-to thing is just bowl fast,
fast. That's it.
straight seam and bowl the middle stump out. It was later that I realized that every fast bowler has a go-to swing delivery, whether it is in swing or out swing.
Mm.
And other than that, if they're able to master the other swing also, then they're considered very good. Like with the same arm action, you're able to swing the ball both ways.
Mm.
So the challenge of a fast bowler is not really the pace, but the swing,
Swinger.
because that you're not able to visually you're unable to predict that.
But
You
that
can
is
get
related to
accustomed,
speed, so we think that speed is everything.
but again, my point is there were very few people who would contradict this. Because very little about cricket was
It
known.
was known.
These days, because of democratization, because of globalization, ease of access to things,
Mm.
people, it's very easy to get access to things. But I feel people are not as passionate or
Passionate about
as
things.
yeah, they
Yeah,
want everything
we
to
used to
come to
break
them.
bones to play cricket. Now, even though we
Exactly.
have money, we have cricket bats and balls, we are not willing to play.
Uh,
I am not willing to play at least.
Again, but like kids have also like I'll give one more example. So after BTech, like there was a short time where I was at home. So
Mm.
my mother was a principal of a school.
Mm.
So some of the teachers they were there on a part-time basis, right? So they used to teach at other schools also and this school also. So they would come only after recess. So
Mm.
then usually one or two classes would get skipped. Like the teacher isn't there. Even the class is scheduled to happen at that time. The teacher was not there. So
Mm.
I volunteered and I went and taught like some maths and science. So one of the major things that I realized was 99% of the students they did not like for example so I speak fluently like
Mm.
whenever I'm speaking a subject because then you kind of zoning into it. Like once
Mm.
you start, initially you fumble a little bit, then you get the like whatever you're talking about, and then you speak fluently.
Mm.
So some of the kids had a genuine complaint that the teacher speaks English in such a way that we don't understand the subject. And I was like, this is something us kids used to crave. Like if there used to
Yeah.
be a good teacher,
Who speaks
who
good
whatever,
English?
yeah, we used to look up to them and be
Yeah.
like, what can I do to improve my English? What can I do to
Mm.
improve my science, maths, whatever. So these days, the kids they are very complacent. They're happy with what they have because they know they can easily get things,
Mm.
right?
They
And
are
as a
used to
result
getting
of this,
comfort rather than
because
struggling to
it's
get
easily
something
available,
available.
it's easily available. They know they don't have to work hard, and again, that like Wait, let me close my window. Actually, it's it's a netted window, so the sound goes out.
Mm.
Anyway, yeah. So I think there has been a major shift in morality and values as such that yeah. What I was trying to say is when I was younger, I think a lot of things were not debated, a lot of things were not questioned or criticized because like we
We
used
don't
to
have that
strive
much
to
knowledge. Like we
no
know
no
that
no
the
we used
teacher
to
has more knowledge than us.
whether they were right or wrong, our first instinct used to be to understand that thing.
Mm.
First instinct used to be I don't know much, let me first understand about it. Yeah, but these days like people, more and more people, ignorant people are questioning every little thing, and the onus ideally the onus should be on them to educate themselves, but then they put that thing on, like
It's,
they form some kind of privilege for you and then they tell you ki, you have been benefiting of this privilege, explain, justify
mm,
yourself,
mm,
right? That is the thing which happens, and I think as a result of that, more and more uh, like I think it's more important for people of our generation and moving forward to educate ourselves about these little things, because obviously we won't be able to defend every little thing, but if
mm.
we have a good understanding of where we came from, what our cultures were like, etc., etc., we can kind of give a rational argument,
Like
you know.
it's not like a philosophy rather than stream of facts. Like we should know at least
Yeah.
where to look for if we
Huh.
don't know things.
and and also I think in the grand scheme of things, if we dedicate ourselves to that, it will be easier to empathize with people,
Mm,
easier to be like, maybe it was not that bad, etc., etc. Like
mm,
how do I say? Like for example, I'm kind of still confused about sati pratha. Confused in the sense, how widely was it a customary practice in India?
mm.
Like was it just a practice of, let's say, 100 years, that has been blown up and been like, this is part of Indian culture and tradition?
Uh,
Was it part of certain communities or certain elite classes?
and
How prevalent was
also
it?
like branding India as the land of Sati is something. It's look like praying
That
propaganda only.
obviously that is something that suits to British interests.
Tradition, but they don't
it,
talk about
it
witch hunts, which is
obviously
like a much larger scale burning of women than Sati. Sati can never be
uh,
in India.
there are a lot of when you see
See,
these little
we,
videos
we
and
don't understand like people don't understand how violent these witchcrafts are. Like I have seen one instance where the entire female population of a Switzerland village was burned because of this
mm,
witchcraft. You don't see that sati is happening in India. That's a very evil thing that I am not
nay,
defending or
but
anything, but they
I
are
want to
like
say
individual
something.
cases.
Hmm.
Like
Nay, not individual cases. I'll tell you. I'll talk about sati for a minute. So the basis of sati. I have told you also. Like why sati
that
came
the
into
invasions and
inheritance. No
inheritance and
inheritance.
invasions.
That you're saying about Johar. I'm not
Johar.
talking about Johar. Johar is
Sati is
like
for
a lost
inheritance. Yeah, yeah.
last.
Uh,
Exactly. Satya used to be because there used to be certain communities which allowed the females to inherit the property once
but
the father or husband.
husband dies.
So
Yeah.
the
In,
entire family used to be like, there are like 20 people and we are at the mercy of this one woman. So
mm.
they made up this whole thing to, you're a pious woman and this and that, and for that you should, you know, uh, burn yourself with your husband,
For witchcraft
whatever.
also, it is the same reason. The inheritance only.
For witchcraft, I'll give you one fact. So, witchcraft and like these women were particularly associated, single women. They
Single
were
women
particularly
and
associated,
women like widows basically. Widows and single women.
single women. They were associated with cats.
Cats.
Okay, now one argument is so plague used to exist at that time,
Mm,
right? Rats were the major vectors of these diseases. Like
mm,
there was very poor understanding of health and hygiene in those times.
mm, mm.
Like people used to be suited booted, but still they had a very poor understanding of health and
What will
hygiene.
cause
So, for
what?
example, so like the whole river used to be polluted essentially, and
Mm,
whatever. Like there are many things about that. So these women, so single women, it's a fact that a lot of single women or like these introverted women are associated with cats, right? And
mm.
these cats used to prey on mice. As a result, they would not get diseased.
This is
So people used to be like, how is this one lady
one
staying
lady is not
alone?
surviving the plague,
She's
whereas
surviving everything.
everyone is
Everyone
dying.
else is dying. Yeah.
Uh,
So again, this is why, like, again, lack of education.
mm,
Obviously, people, rather than taking the onus on themselves to educate, like, why this is happening or how we can benefit from it, they target the other party.
mhm.
They're like, something is wrong. They'll cook up some story and then, you know, kill this person.
Cats moved from protecting women in 16th century to becoming YouTube videos, YouTube shorts today. You see that
That's a
cat trends,
different
right?
thing.
Cat trends,
That's a different thing
Instagram.
again, huh? Cat trends. Even I have been like, yeah, guilty of it. Even I watch cat
Yeah,
videos
even I
often,
watch, but
sometimes.
that's like, yeah, just a trend. Yeah, again, um,
Yeah,
talking
I was
about
talking of
witchcraft.
Sati. Sati, I was
Satya.
saying. So, so when
But
I
but
read this
but
inheritance,
even in India, it is not uniform. Like it was not followed everywhere. Even in the
exactly.
cases where females inherit, in Bengal only
Hmm.
it was practiced. It was not practiced in Kerala.
Exactly
Even
my
though
point.
in
There's actually there's actually a video on it also that
even in Meghalaya it was not there, right? Even today, it was inheritance was
hmm,
female centric in Meghalaya, but you don't see
hmm.
Sati in Meghalaya.
Ah,
Mm.
me, that is true again. So again, when you hear something like this, then again, I read some other incidents where they talked about sati pratha going on in, like, Jodhpur and Jaipur, these areas,
Those
around the
are
same time. That's why I'm
those
saying.
are for
So
royal ladies, right? Like,
that's why I'm saying, right, this thing, educating ourselves on these issues is very important, because okay, the first time I read about this, whatever sources I read from, I was convinced that, this was a very limited occurrence, the sati
mm,
pratha thing. But then when I read some other sources, I was like, okay, some other places also this existed. Like, this was a
mm,
part of a lot of Hindu, not a lot,
mythology
but
and
a few Hindu
few Hindu
societies
mythologies are there.
followed this.
Mm.
Yeah, they did follow it. So I'm kind of confused. But again, one more thing, whatever we are studying, most of it we don't realize it's from a Britisher's perspective.
Mm.
Because
They try
whatever,
to
let's say,
correlate
what
it with whatever there is in Europe, basically.
true, but also what they saw, they wrote, right?
Mm.
They translated the books that we're reading, let's say, the books that we're reading, whatever, even if you read Bhagavad Gita and all, the easiest that people will read is in English,
Mm.
right? Or at best, whatever, in English. So all these books are translated. So how do we not know that these have some certain biases which, they intend
Even
to
though if there
propagate?
is no bias, the language itself will not support few expressions.
Again, true. True.
So
And also,
lost in translation.
one thing I hate about our Indian representation abroad is, even today we are
Ah,
seen as these
see, Indian
mystics.
representation in abroad is one of the worst kind of representation that we get. Like
Uh,
the we don't even want to go there. That is cult.
and we don't even care. I
Ah,
think
we
the
don't even care.
average Indian, who is kind of still like the 1% of all Indians who goes abroad,
Mm.
there's very few people who have seen, like, who, yeah, who do something about it, or at least take a stand.
Most of them are like tech guys. They'll go up on tech and then they try to mingle into that society. And they will be talking Nandini as Nandini.
True, true.
Even
It's
yeah.
not even that. Like, I'll give you a few examples. So there used to be this guy, Indian YouTuber. I think his channel's name is Sing in America or Sing in US or something.
Mm.
So this is long back, like, to 2018 or something, or some around that time. Back then, his channel, he used to work with another guy, US guy. Probably he was of German origin. They studied in the same college, university in USA.
Mm. Mm.
So they used to do like videos about Indian issues and all. So one of the videos I saw, where the American guy was talking about, I read this in Max Muller and he wrote this, he wrote that, blah blah blah. And this Indian guy was not at all arguing.
He
He,
doesn't
like,
even
he doesn't know, and he doesn't even, like, he's kind of shy. Yeah, maybe you are saying
he
the
don't
right
even
thing.
care
Maybe
to
you're
know.
right. Yeah.
Uh,
I was kind of offended. I took offense to that. Like, clearly, this guy is biased, and he even said, like, I don't take any of these guys who have written the books because I can't trust them.
mm.
This guy, I know, he's a German guy. He has properly studied this and that, blah blah blah. And I'm like, how can you even say that? Just because you're familiar with the language and familiar with his writings doesn't mean that
He is correct.
you can be.
There is not
Yeah,
any correlation that he is correct.
You have not come to India, you have not lived with, like, basically you don't know any, you don't have any first hand experience of
Experience,
India.
living experience.
How can you say that whatever has been
And it's
written is
not like, see,
exactly?
I don't blame others for not having first-hand experience. I blame them from not having principle and applying it evenly with everything that they study. For example, they say even the principle that they said, no, like Sati was very prevalent in India. Okay, let's say okay, they think it is bad practice, but why don't they
Hmm.
mention the witchcraft in the same sentence?
They
It is
can't,
same
because then they
only.
won't be allowed to speak. They won't be allowed to
Speak.
speak abroad. See, this is one. This is the reason why I have no interest in politics, or I don't follow politics at
Or
all.
my thing was like they want to project themselves as writing something exotic. Like in India, they used to be these things, like some otherworldly thing
No,
where they
I
cannot
think it's
relate
more.
with them.
No. I think it has more to do, like, there is a bias, because first world countries are only, as far as India is concerned, they are only interested in these, particular things, like
Hmm.
these are the horrors, this is the wrong, blah blah blah. They don't want to see the good side of it.
Yeah,
And
like
even if there is very,
when they want to show India image, they show some railway track image only, not Bangalore or Hyderabad.
huh,
Uh,
and it's also like, when I saw South cinema movies
mm,
made in South, that's when it struck me, like, because I was never a very heavy movie person.
mm.
When I saw movies of the South, I was like kind of amazed, because when you see the setting, you see poverty, but you're focused on the story.
Story
It's the way you shoot it, yeah. So
uh,
inherently that bias is there.
is
So my point is, a lot of these people, let's say Arundhati Roy and all, if you read her writing, I don't find her necessarily wrong anywhere. Like,
mm,
an artistic person, they're bound to express their anger and rage in certain ways, right? They're not going to shy away from that. They're not going to be diplomatic about it. They'll write it in certain, fancy language.
then
But I think the problem is, oftentimes when she's called to speak abroad and she's asked about very particular topics,
uh,
which has to do with injustices happening in India, either in history or contemporary.
he-
That is the issue.
because
And
she tries to generalize it, telling that everything is like this only.
no, I think even if you hear her answers, they're kind of balanced, in my opinion. I don't
Uh,
take her side. What I'm saying is, even if you hear her answer, it's kind of balanced. The issue is, nobody points that out. Ki, why are you not asking this?
mm,
Right? Because usually these people see, they don't see that. They're seeing, okay, I have been asked this, I should give the best answer possible.
mm,
They don't see the overall situation, like why are you controlling the narrative, like, for example, Jaishankar is doing.
mm.
From the very outset, he's like, why are you even asking this question?
Asking, why are you judging me based on your opinions or
Yeah,
based on your worldview?
because he's a diplomat, he has been seeing this all the time.
Mm,
And to us, it's like a breath of fresh air, because we're like, yeah, exactly, this is what we were thinking, but we did not have the, rationale to back it with facts.
mm,
You're like, you're talking about why are we importing, grain, or like whatever, wheat and petroleum from crude oil from Russia,
Russia.
because you guys are also taking
Importing
this much.
oil from Russia, right? Like
Yeah,
Germany is
because we
taking
did
oil
not
from
have those
Russia.
facts.
Uh,
Because we did not have those facts again. So yeah, I think uh, current generation needs to take some. I mean, it's not all good, because there is a big downside to it, because we are not introspecting, we are not learning a lot of things.
mm,
From day one, you have this sense of confidence that whether I study this or not, I'll be able to make it on my own,
mm,
right? Especially with the upcoming times, like, again, a lot of people ask questions like, what is the, even when I was younger, people used to be like, what's the point of studying all this maths,
uh,
right? The idea is, like, a lot of teachers used to say it back then also, the idea is that if you do something hard, it will be easier for you to do something which is easier.
mm.
And
Like
also, like,
you should do all the mistakes here only, so that
ha,
you will not do
so
mistakes in real life.
yeah, a lot of things, like, people talk about morality and all. I see people have a very limited scope of understanding, and so I think a responsible thing to do in this age is to educate ourselves more and more about these little things, and also kind of point out, like, if we feel that somebody is coming at us from a very particular agenda,
Mm,
it's very important to point out that, I may not be aware of this topic, but I don't necessarily agree with you.
mm.
I recently I took up this. So like NPTL, there are courses offered by UGC online. So
You
I took
just,
a course on. I took a course on this Buddhism.
mm.
I have kind of been interested in Buddhism anyway, but so due to that I studied some little
Yeah,
bit about Buddhism. That is why I was saying that you know.
I am also listening to Mahabharata in Telugu actually.
Uh,
Uh, since why we both got suddenly interested into these religious things? I don't understand. Studying Buddhism,
I think
I
it's
never thought.
fulfilling.
Like, see, if you ask Tarun Sai, who is like 5 years before, that future
Hmm.
Tarun Sai after 5 years will be listening to Mahabharata, I will laugh at you. I will not do
Uh,
that, such kind of things. How I am doing this.
I think a, a sense of maturity is when you realize that, uh, like, you see how things are correlated.
Hmm.
Like when we are younger, we think, okay, getting into IIT is this big thing, and
Okay,
if you just do this little
I'll
thing.
tell you my perspective. Like when I was reading Mahabharata in childhood, like when I was 19 or 20, I used to see them as like, some kind of real scientific stories. Like let's say there is a guy with 1,000 hands. First thought in my mind would be,
Hmm.
this is not scientific. There will be no one with 1,000 hands. What's the point of reading this? They are all telling lies. But
Hmm.
the point of it is not 1,000 hands. It is what the author want to tell through that story.
Figurative.
Figurative, it's not literal. So whether
Hmm.
you are getting that figurative thing or not.
Hmm. Hmm, hmm.
So that's why, like, yeah, it's like a maturity only when you realize, like,
I think maturity I meant was maturity is like realizing that how things are correlated basically.
mm,
So like I said now, like when we are younger, we just see, okay, if you just score well in your 10th, in your 10th, in your 12th, in your, if you just do this, life will be sorted.
mm,
But when you reach that stage, whether you fail or pass, you realize like there's a lot more to life than this, and that is actually what gives you the
mm.
results. It's not preparing for these exams, but like how you live your life, or how you think about life in general, how you do things in life in
So
general.
what
That
you learn from this experience.
ha, because it's not just like there is something fixed that, okay, you're going to marry this person, you're going to work here and this and that. For some people it's sorted, but usually it's like you don't know what is going to happen. So to give yourself the best shot, you should be prepared at all time, I think.
Mm,
And also there is a sense of like, I think these little okay, so even when you're working, no matter how much you're paid, there is very little thing that you have control over,
mm,
right? There is very little that you have control over. So I think, like, you feel like I have a lot to offer, but my energies are being used in a very minuscule way. That is why
Minuscule.
at things where you feel like you get a sense of grandeur. You feel like, larger than life figures and these blah blah blah,
Mm,
like people who have influenced the world, people who have influenced cultures. You want to read about them
mm,
and kind of relate it with your reality, whether it is to explain something in the past or something happening, etc., etc. Yeah.
yeah.
I used to say I kind of always got figurative language,
Mm.
but I was not interested in it because I think religion in India is very it taught very
Yeah. Like we are
monotonously.
not supposed to question that. Usually,
Exactly, which is
whenever,
the
which is the exact opposite. Like when you
yeah
read
of how
text,
it
right?
used to be.
Used to be. No, even when you read from scholars, right? They don't say
Hmm.
like read Mahabharata or read Ramayana. They say understand it and question it. Why he is doing it like that only?
Hmm.
Like what is the other path? But
True.
when we get religion from society, right? It is always like you should follow this. That's it.
Hmm.
There is no reasoning. There is no questioning, or there is no conversation.
True. And I think, from like, not religion, but like the writings, if you see, it has a lot more than just religion,
Like for
right?
example,
Like I said that.
I'll tell you one thing. Like Lord Sri Rama killed Vali from backside, right?
Hmm.
Which is like everyone will have a question like why he killed like that? Like he's a warrior. They would have fought
Hmm.
face by face and would have killed
Hmm.
him.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like what's the point of killing like this? people think that okay, they have discovered a new thing, like they have discovered something new in Ramayana, and they are questioning that Ramayana. Actually, these were asked by Wali to Rama himself in the same text. He asked all the questions
Mm.
that we ask,
Mm.
and Sri Rama will give answer to everything.
Mm.
But we are taught in such a way that we miss this, intricacies in the story, and we only focus on the main event and start judging the story based on that.
Mm.
We don't see
True.
the build up, we only see the action part. We don't see drama.
Mm. True.
Like we thought like it will give a high, right? Like when you question something that is very old and it was read by
Mm.
generations, we think that okay, we actually discovered this something, we are the first one questioning. Actually these were questions that were answered, like the because like I used to tell you, like the philosophical questions that I ask, that I have a doubt on, these were answered in
Mm.
400 BC by the Greeks. Like I don't have, these are not my new thought. The questions may be new, but the answers were already given, like way back.
Mm.
But you'll get that high when you think that we are doing something new with this whole text. Like when
But
when we
I also think asking these questions, the thing that you said, na, like there is also a sense of entitlement. So
hmm,
let's say if when I see you asking question, or when I see like when I ask questions, there is a genuine thing of trying to know,
hmm,
like whatever. Like even if I'm asking to someone whom I feel like I know better than them, but
hmm,
still the intention is wanting to know. Maybe this person will give me something which is
some
new,
perspective, or
some
at least some
perspective.
perspective.
Yeah, but I think current generation, or like what I have been seeing, people don't. They just want to establish their superiority. They come from a point of entitlement.
And under
They
this word,
associate it.
they are special or they are unique. Like no, you are just a product of society. There will be a lot of similarities between
Uh,
you and me. You and the society
true,
and
true.
everyone.
I
It
remember
is.
like there are a lot of videos in this regard where you see that some guy is talking about judicious usage of, like, last year we spent this much on petroleum, this year we'll reduce the cost to this much. So
Mm,
there's this one girl who's like, why don't we put money in sustainable ways, like for energy generation, like wind
mm,
farms and this and that.
mm,
So he's like, okay, you know how many birds get killed in these wind farms and all.
mm.
She's
See
like, no,
that
but
that girl. Okay, okay, continue. I'll tell.
yeah, so she basically he gives a statistic, like, this is where the wind farms are set up, these many birds died. She's like, at this point we can at least establish that life of human is more than that of a bird. Like,
Mm.
this is exactly the thing you are against, and
Uh,
right now you're telling me that, okay, this is justifiable, this is okay, we can kill some birds
some
to
but for
provide energy for ourselves. This,
see,
yeah,
I
like
can guarantee you that girl is coming from humanities because no engineering people will not.
100%, 100%.
I like people when people say, "Why don't you design chips on 10 gigahertz?" Like, ruko,
uh,
we we know the problems that way when we design. That's when you are an engineering student, you know the problems when you want to design something. When you are in humanities, you can say, "Ah, build a nuclear power plant, generate electricity for
not
free,
even
everything."
not even engineering, even if someone has studied science till 12th,
Uh,
right?
they'll understand.
At least that guy you can expect. Someone who's taken commerce or arts, you see the differences. Yeah, I
Mm,
understand totally. People like, uh, there is this thing now. People say that, there's only two options: medical or engineering.
mm,
It's like, okay, medical or engineering education. How many engineers do you see actually doing engineering jobs?
jobs.
Rarely anyone. Rarely anyone. People who study that, there's very few people who work in the same profession. Otherwise, like, the education helps you basically.
Mm,
Like
thought
if you are
process.
in a yeah, the kind of experiences you have, the things that you learn, etc., etc. Like, okay, one thing that people are like, engineering students, they study on the last day,
Mm.
right? This is
But
like a thing.
it is a talent only. Like people who can study so much in single day, they
uh,
are they can do even
but
more if they put effort.
it's not even the talent. The exams are set up in such a way that it can only be done on the last day.
Mm.
Like, I'll give an example. If you study electrical machines, the question paper will not ask you, give description about this machine and this and that. It will give you compare these two machines.
Which is,
Now, in 3 months of time, when you're studying that subject, right? How will you be able to reach that point? You're basically like, you're just studying the subject.
uh,
First time you're introduced to it. How can you compare two or three things?
cool.
That kind
Ironic.
of
Cool.
preparation can only come from last day preparation.
Mm.
So, yeah, it makes sense. Last day preparation. particularly in engineering. The same thing cannot hold true for medical.
Mm.
For medical, you need at least 1 week or 1 month time to prepare, because the questions are set up in such a way. Like, for example, they'll ask you
I
that,
hope they are preparing for 2 months. Like I'm really scared when I hear my friends saying about their medical exams and their professors. I don't want to come to your hospital. Don't come.
I think it's not that difficult, yeah. Medical, even if you study basic biology, na, like, see, the only thing is about taking responsibility. If I say this is how it is happening, I should know, I should have proper background information and first-hand experience to tell you that this is exactly what is going to happen,
Mm.
right? Otherwise, if you study basic biology, like simple things like constipation and this and that, how this happens, how that happens, that is also one thing that is lacking. People are so specializing, uh, they're so much into specializing that they see, okay, I don't need to learn this. I can simply hire a doctor, hire
Ah.
a advocate or etc. to do that thing on my behalf. But
Mm.
it's situations like COVID when you see how much people basic information they have. You know, if people, they don't have sense. Like when some doctor is written have this after having lunch, they'll eat it on empty stomach and then they'll be like, I had some issues when taking medication.
Mm.
These kind of things. Yeah.
I think 7 minutes are left. I think we have a good conversation. I think we should upload.
Nahi yaar, we should not.
Why? It
You
just
know
will
what?
be a,
You know
uh,
what? Nahi yaar, don't upload right now. I'm telling you, this is not good. Like
it's
the
not good,
conversation
but
is
it's a
fine.
good start at least. We'll upload and then we will increase the quality. Like it depends on the feedback.
Who will you ask for feedback?
Anyone in the internet, some random guy will see at least to
I
to
don't think.
to, to blame us or
See, I don't think we should upload right now. I think we should like have some points. So, for example, this time I did not prepare at all.
right. So
I'm
see,
saying
I'm not saying point. We will upload and at least people will see like what kind of
the
conversation that we are
reason,
having.
the reason I'm saying this is because, see, whenever we are giving arguments, like, okay, I read this in history, even if it is kind of approximate, we need to have some backing.
Hmm.
Like, at least the things that you said, the things that I said, I did not have proper references and all, which I can tell you that,
It's okay.
you
It's
can read
not the
about it.
research paper. It's just our opinion
Still,
only.
yeah.
It can be wrong.
Still,
It can be bad. It's just our opinion. That's it.
but
It's just what
it gives a
we
certain
think.
impression. It
Certain
gives a
impression,
certain
okay.
impression, right?
People will understand.
Even if you're bullshitting, doesn't mean that you can't speak facts.
Hmm.
Bullshitting is like, I don't care about it. I'm just giving you my opinion, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean it cannot be informed.
Hmm.
Because again, like I said, na, that also gives a certain, like when you reach out to certain audiences. Okay, for example, Bill Burr. One of the reasons I think a lot of people, a diverse crowd, listens to him is because all everything that he says has an element of truth to it,
Hmm.
right? It's not just some random ramblings. Because then usually, like, let's say, if I'm frustrated, only then I'll listen, right? But otherwise, I will not listen to him. I
Hmm.
think a lot of people, the reason they listen to him is because there are a lot of things that we feel like saying, but we are unable to
What to
say.
say? Unable to
But we hear
articulate those
him and we're
things.
like,
Uh,
yeah, and he articulates them so precisely. What he is doing is he's kind of preparing his material, he's refining his words. Like what he says in 4 sentences, he can cut down to one phrase or
once and
something. Yeah, he's doing that. But to us, he's like, he's speaking the truth. So we kind of
hmm.
relating to it. I think that's the reason why I feel like, because we are all over the place and etc. etc. I can brush upon this parts of this Buddhist history and all,
Hmm.
because I saw these videos last like 1 week or so ago. I'll read upon them and then I'll give you some proper things like, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is the reason, these are the people, these things existed,
Associate.
because there's a lot. There's a lot. So for example, in Buddhist, whatever these things, there were like there's proper terms for it. Actually, forgot. They're like gun and sang. So
Hmm.
gun and sang. These are basically, so two kinds of governments existed. One where there was a monarchy,
Hmm.
right, and the other when there was like a federal structure.
Hmm.
So like a federal structure and then state level kind of structure. So for example, if the kingdom existed in four places, they
Hmm.
will have capital where the like gathering of people used to sit
People used to
and
say that.
yeah. And then other places there will be like small state government kind of situation.
Hmm.
So there is a lot in these histories also. And the way I try to study is to like going from generic to specific, rather than cramming up facts about everything specific, like okay, this kingdom did this kingdom did this, etc., etc. Yeah, like this Takshila. I am from
Uh,
Bihar, so I know of Nalanda.
Takshila
I
is
used
from
to assume
Northeast
Takshila
province.
is in Pakistan. Pakistan, Pakhtunwala.
Lakshmana.
I was kind of shocked. I was like, I never questioned that. I used to think Takshila is in Bihar somewhere here and there. I didn't even know that it was there. So this was like a proper, like what Nalanda was, Takshila was there,
Hmm.
right?
Like
So there's lot of our history which, even if you study the generics of it, okay, this is what was taught. This is generic in kind of like
not just in Pakistan, Gandhara was in Afghanistan actually.
ha,
Afghanistan after Gandhara.
Afghanistan, exactly, yeah. East Afghanistan, Khyber Pakhtunwala, Kashmir
Ah,
value, well connected. Also, this place was, yeah, you said Gandhar, na?
Gandhar.
That is the like constituency basically.
See,
Uh,
our mythology was based on that. Like, if you read Mahabharata, Gandhari, she's from
exactly,
Afghanistan.
exactly.
She was
Yes,
written as she's from
even
Afghanistan. She's
the
princess from Afghanistan.
Panchali. What was her other name? She was also from a Buddhist province only.
Mm,
Panchali,
Draupadi.
Draupadi, daughter
Uh,
of Draupad from Panchal.
uh,
Panchal is the kingdom.
okay, okay.
It's one of the Buddhist kingdoms.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, from Mahajanapadas, right? One of the Mahajanapadas, huh?
yes,
Panchal Kingdom,
yes.
yeah.
This is one of the Mahajanpadas. Exactly, that was what. So there's two things: Mahajanpadas, which is like a monarchy, and then
Mm,
you have Gan and Sangha.
mm.
Sangha basically.
See, we'll do one thing. There are only 2 minutes left. You
Ah,
prepare on that. Like, I have not very much idea. I will give you inputs like this only.
ah,
We'll
ah.
plan someday to do that.
Okay.
So,
Ah,
what are your last
sure,
words?
sure, sure.
1 minute. Yeah, I think we should upload it. I like hate comments.
Upload it.
No,
Okay.
I'll send you a copy also, both of these things.
Ari, that's not an issue. I was just
Uh,
concerned about the quality. That's all.
Quality, you don't like. It's like a document. What you call documentation. Okay, we have this thing. Would be nice.
Okay. You want to upload it on YouTube?
You upload it in your channel. I'll try in mine. I don't have a channel. I learn
We
how to
have that
create one.
channel, na? Podcast channel we have.
We have a okay. Okay, send me that link.
Yeah.
Like, if you have in
I'll
in
send
the
you the
thing,
link. I'll send you the link.
then I'll try to upload it. Let's see how many
Let's
cases
see.
that we can get.
Cases and all, see, cases will happen when we are of some repute.
Repeat.
We are making some money.
Uh,
When they know that we are able to defend ourselves.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, hmm,
Okay, we will see who people we can add, like, people who are interested. Let's see.
hmm.
Usually people will not be interested in these kind of things. Let's see.
Okay.
Lonely.
Let's see.
Uh, Had you
Let's see.
dinner?
No, I'll go downstairs now.
Are you free tomorrow?
Yeah, sure.
Mm. If you are
You want to
free,
record sometime tomorrow? Yeah,
no,
we
you
can
can
record
come.
sometime. I'll.